So Rachel says you guys should be able to take on Governor Livingston, right? Or, yeah. So, I was trying to look at the video closely, but that goal in overtime, that wasn't a good shot, right? It just bounced over the goalie. Yeah. Yeah, I saw it go on the goalie's like, you know. Right. Put on that. Put on that. Yep. Ray, is this your first one solo? Right.
Oh, yeah.
You showing up?
You know what?
Remember, less is more.
And just a reminder to everyone, if you click the button on the front of your microphone, it'll turn it
Oh,
off
is it?
whenever you're not
Oh, good for
speaking,
him.
so we don't have.
Where? Where's he going?
Test. 1, 2.
Testing.
Maitland?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, red is off.
We're not on.
Oh.
Yeah, we are.
Oh. Red is, he said red is on.
No, we don't have that.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Quinn?
Here.
Councilman Friedlander?
Here.
Councilman Brooks?
Here.
Councilwoman Noon? Here. Councilman Salberg?
Here.
Councilwoman Brooks?
Here.
Vice President Sackett?
Here.
President Kritz?
Here. Notice of this meeting was published in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on March 3rd, 2022. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. Just one announcement before we start, just so everybody knows, we're going to take a recess from 1 to 1:30 today, just so we know. Okay, open to the public. Ms. Jackson? No.
You're not.
No, you know.
Okay, presentation by the Township's Auditor, Ray Sarinelli Jr. Do we do emails for this?
If there's any emails or anything?
We don't do emails for this kind of.
No.
Okay.
Got
Okay.
it right.
So good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So I'm going to start off by talking about how 2021 closed out, so you can know how everything.
I'm sorry, is that mic working?
You have to turn it on, push at the end.
Push the
All way
end
on
in.
the end, push that.
There's a button there.
Hold it for a couple seconds.
Hello?
There you go. Sorry.
All right. So we're going to talk about 2021, how everything closed out. That way you can know where everything was, so you can know where you're going. So financially, 2021 was a good year. You know, a lot of other things were very crazy throughout 2021, but financially, things did close out very well. There's a number of contributing factors to that. Your collection rate on your taxes stayed very consistent. In fact, it was almost exactly the same, 98.98%, which is very good. Your revenues, some were up, some were down, but overall staying on a middle of the road in your 2021 budget led to some good things there. So you didn't over budget anything, which has been the plan for a number of years. So that's very helpful in some of the shortfalls, but also in some things turning out better than what we expected. The biggest factor is your lapsing appropriations. So in a municipality, there's a 2-year budget cycle. So all of the savings that we saw in 2020, because the municipality was closed, Rockaway was closed to the public, you're not really operating, so those expenses aren't happening. So that doesn't come back into the fund balance until the end of 2021. We've seen this across the board at basically all of our municipalities, where the lapsing of the appropriations from 2020 are boosting the fund balance. So that's the biggest thing contributing to the growth in your fund balance in 2021. So just to give you an idea of what that number is, you started the year with $6.250 million in fund balance. You generated $5.7 million and used $3.8 million in the 2021 budget. So you closed the year a little over $8 million at $8,079,090, which is $1.8 million higher. Looking back historically, that's the biggest one-year growth I think we've ever seen in Rockaway Township. So that's a very good thing. I don't think we would have wanted to go through what we went through to get to that point, but your financial position is very strong. So in looking at all your other areas where we try and protect the township from tax appeals, things like that, all of your reserves are in very good shape. Obviously, when you're in a good financial position, those reserves remain and stay healthy. So that's your current fund operations, very, very healthy. The sewer district as well, the fund balance maintained over the year, so that's in good shape. And the water utility as well, the fund balance is up there. So across the board, all of your funds, the financials are in very good shape. Any specific questions as to the financials of 2021? All right. So then just in looking at the budget, I looked through the budget.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Has all of the expenses caught up to close out what we need to close out, so that is a pure number?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
So then, in looking at the draft of the budget, I look at that from the independent auditor's perspective. I don't have anything invested in the budget. I just look at it purely for, is it a good financial plan? And over the past 10 or 15 years, Rockaway Township has had a very good plan, contributing to the good financial position that you've been in. So I do look through the expenses just to see anything that stands out to me and what's driving the costs, things like that. And so areas that have not been an issue over the past few years are now starting to crop up. They were issues before the pandemic, and now they're coming back. So the two biggest drivers I saw in the expense side is health insurance and pension costs. And those are the two largest increases in the budget and are really what's driving the increase in appropriations. The good news is that that's not resulting in a tax increase. The growth in ratables from 2021 are some of the biggest I've ever seen. So there's $320 million in new ratables, which is resulting in about $2.2 million in new tax revenue. So even though the budget appropriations are increasing and the tax levy is increasing, the average taxpayer is actually going to pay less money in 2022 because the tax rate is going down. So if you think about it, your tax rate was here last year, or your tax base was here last year, now it's here. And that additional growth is covering for all the new costs. So that's a very good thing, obviously, when you have growth like that. It results in savings to the remaining taxpayers in the town.
Is it covering or is it exceeding the costs?
It's exceeding, which is causing the rate to go down.
By 60 cents.
Yeah. So that's, my 1,000-foot overview of your budget. I'm sure you're going to spend a lot of time in the details looking at things, but, it's a good position to have that kind of growth. you have any questions.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Say hi to Dad.
All right, before we move on to the budget, just a couple of things. I just want to remind everybody, as far as when discussions happen, it's not appropriate to discuss individuals' salaries or positions where there's only one person, where it would be obvious who we're talking about. I know most of us know this, but nobody's been riced, so you can't discuss it into that kind of detail. Okay? I know we're going to take the book a little bit out of order based on need, so I want to thank everybody for coming in on a Saturday. I know it's not ideal. It was really the best time to get everybody in one room together, one time, instead of breaking it up over multiple meeting periods. So thank you to everybody for that. Like I said, we're going to take the book a little bit out of order. I know that we want to do tab 17 first for the court. I know that we'd like to get you out.
Hey, President Kritz, before we get into it, could I have a moment?
Yes.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank all the department heads for being here today. I wasn't really involved in the development of this budget. I came on kind of after it was baked, but I know a tremendous amount of work goes into this budget from all the people in this room, especially Lisa and Pat. They put a tremendous amount of time and effort into providing a fiscally sound budget. One thing I'd just like to point out, if you look at page 2 on the summary on the memo that came in, you'll notice one thing I'd just like to point out, right? We have a $1.3 million increase, but of that, the vast majority of it, almost 1.1 million of it, is fixed costs, right? Things that are out of our control, either contractually or, things that we can't decrease because they're increasing due to contract. So, you're going to see an increase of 1.3 million, but most of it was out of our control. So I think the department heads in times where the cost of everything is increasing, gas prices, medical bills, pension costs are all increasing. They've done a great job at identifying areas within their departments to help keep this budget as flat as we could. So with that said, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Okay, so we're going to open up tab 17, and we will open up for any discussion. No discussion? 17.
Municipal court.
All right, make a motion to close out tab 17.
Well,
Second.
Well, anybody opposed?
make a motion to approve tab 17.
I'll second.
Anybody, Chrissy, do we have to go through everybody? Can we just do nobody's opposed? Is there a procedure for it?
If there's no objection, we can just do general consensus.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
All ayes.
All ayes.
Ayes.
Aye.
All right, 17 is closed. Thank you for your time. Sorry to put you through that. Okay, so just like Mayor Jackson said, there are a number of tabs that are fixed costs. I know that separately, a lot of us have had discussions on it, so I want to make a motion to close out tabs 4, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20, and 22.
I'll second that.
Council President, can I just repeat those back to you? please?
Yes.
4, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20, and 22?
Correct. Anybody opposed? Okay. Moving right along.
Affirmation was positive.
All right, so we will open up tab 1 for discussion.
Council President. Discussion.
Just looking through tab 1, I see some salary increases, and I see some non-salary increases. And I see various positions, trying to word this properly,
I understand.
that don't seem to line up. So I'm wondering when we're gonna fix these positions. People were moved around and not put back in their positions. And it's time to move them back in those positions.
Ms. Seeger, can you,
So,
go ahead.
there's personnel decisions that are made internally by myself and the business administrator. I don't think it's appropriate to discuss those here, and we're addressing all those questions.
Why is there a five?
Mrs. Seeger.
To make it clear, positions and personnel are the privy of the mayor in this form of government and not the council's decisions on where people are.
The council approved these positions.
Those positions are still there. We haven't taken a position away.
Doesn't seem like it from emails I see.
Okay, but I'm just telling you, those positions are still there, the people still have the same titles, and it's up to the mayor and the administration, the assignment, and that's in our policies and procedures manual, and it's a management prerogative and under the mayor's privy in this form of government.
But if they have the same titles, why are they being emailed the different titles? I don't understand it.
This is a discussion for closed-door session.
Okay.
It's not a discussion for open public. I'm sorry.
Why is there a $5,000 increase for the business administrator and nothing for the rest of the staff?
Again, these are discussions we shouldn't be having in public.
Okay.
You're bringing up a position, as Mr. Kritz mentioned, those things shouldn't be discussed in public.
But we're talking about the budget. We have to approve these.
Can I tell you something about all the salaries that are in the 2022 line item are all what everybody is currently making? No raises have been put in here because all 6 contracts are being negotiated right now. So the amount you see in the 2022 is the actual amount those current employees are making through the whole book.
Seems different in here. Must be reading something different. I gotta check my glasses, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, it would have been good to have those questions in advance. Mrs. Seeger could have answered them.
Sometimes we need to have certain questions out in the public.
Right.
Mr. Quinn?
So just for clarification, so what you're saying is that those numbers in 2021 were X, they got an increase in 2021, and that's why they're being carried into 2022.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Page 14, we didn't have live meetings in 2020 and 21. What happened with the meeting attendant money? Does that go back into the budget?
Again, you're speaking about personnel, and we cannot do that
Okay.
here.
Page 9. Now, I know some of these salaries are long overdue, I understand. But to increase them so much, to me, it just seems absurd. So I'm gonna make a motion to lower these salaries. The mayor lowering from 20,000 to 15,000. Council president from 13,000 to 11, and council members from 11 to 9. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Yes.
Take roll.
Sorry, can you say the council president's salary again?
11.
To 11?
Councilman Quinn,
Yes.
Councilman Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilman Brooks,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon,
Yes.
Councilman Salberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brooks,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Kritz,
Yes. It's 8 yeses.
Page 30.
What would that total amount be now, please?
9,000,
9,000 savings?
Oh,
I believe so. Oh, no, you gotta multiply it by the number of council members.
7.
23, 25, once we have a full council.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 times 9 plus the 2 for the 5 for the That's the total.
Page 30. I know we had, we used to have a deputy tax assessor. Is there, and then we had a promotion, and I read Councilman Sahlberg's questions on this. They're very good. Just was wondering, is that going to be plan of any type of fill in that position, or what? Is it posted? I know you've been posting a lot of positions. Just was wondering about that one.
We don't plan on making the department any bigger than 2 people, if that's what you're asking, and there's already 2 people there.
Okay, so we're going with the, I guess the clerk one is kind of replacing the deputy tax assessor.
Because you have to have certain credentials to be.
Okay. So could the clerk one end up being a deputy tax assessor if they get the credentials?
Could they possibly, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So does that mean an automatic increase?
Depends on what money is in the budget for that.
So just because they get a certification doesn't mean they get an automatic increase, is what I'm asking.
Yes, it has to be in the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, there's provisions on the bottom. Pat?
Yes?
Well, you have provisions for the salary adjustments. So
Yes.
wouldn't that be earmarked if,
If it's available, it would be whoever, the mayor decides in that department deserves a raise.
right, so based on what everybody said, if a person moves up and gets
It
certified,
doesn't necessarily
It's
have
not
to be the
automatic.
person that moves up, and it's not automatic. just
oh, no,
because
but it's
because
there,
It's there
for
if we need it.
that's what I'm saying, okay. Yeah,
Did you have
Good. I'm good, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes, page 49. Zoning official.
Hang on,
Lieutenant-
we're only at one. We're only at one.
Oh, all right.
Page 40.
I want to move on.
Anybody else for tab 1?
No.
Okay. Make a motion to close tab 1.
So moved.
Anybody opposed?
Make a motion to approve tab 1 with the modifications.
You made the motion, Jack's our second?
Yes. Sorry, say it again.
I made a motion to approve tab 1 with the modifications that we had discussed.
Second. All opposed? Anybody opposed? Good. All right, opening up discussion on tab 2. Mr. Quinn.
All right, under engineering, I was looking here, under zoning, a town this size should have a full-time zoning officer. It's ridiculous. We need the part-timers to catch up on the backlog, but the full-timer should be used to enforce the zoning regulations that we currently have so that individual people do not do the Saturday, Sunday specials, which is going on right now.
I'm sorry. We're in tab 2, up
Oy,
to page 49.
roll it, roll it.
Can we put bigger tabs in the budget for next year?
Yeah, especially for the sight impaired.
I'll donate that.
All right, thanks. So nothing in tab 2?
Nothing in 2.
Anybody have anything for tab 2?
I just have a simple question.
Go ahead.
Page 48, the legal advertisements. Is it because we just didn't advertise, we expect more advertising for meetings or something?
Jobs.
Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, yes, that is a projected amount based on the years prior, number of applications. So two things happened. One, sheer number of applications increased, and then also the cost to advertise. Of course, they're increasing their cost too for for newspaper ads.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything else for tab 2?
Let's approve it, Adam. Howard.
Sure thing, Susie.
At least Adam's sitting next to you.
Okay,
Make a motion to close out tab 2.
so moved.
Anybody opposed?
Make a motion to approve tab 2.
Second.
Second.
Well, anybody opposed? Good.
Jack, you're up.
Oh,
Okay.
guess what? Now I can move on to tab
Moving on to
3.
tab 3.
Page 49, yes, thank you. Again, my little speech before, a town this size needs a full-time zoning officer, not part-timers. The part-timers are catching up on the backlog, so my recommendation is to increase to a full-time position, and let's get this thing moving, because we have a lot of people that are, let's say, doing Saturday and Sunday specials and getting away with it. They are also renting rooms, which is a no-no in this town. And I need to get this on the books so that we can move the ordinance forward on getting more teeth into the zoning officer. So I make that motion.
Is that to hire an additional?
Yes, full-time employee,
And keep the 2 part-time,
correct.
okay?
No.
Replace one.
And how much,
You have so much of a backlog that these part-timers are working on, that the 2 part-timers just cannot clear the existing backlog.
What kind of backlog do we have now?
May I speak?
Yeah,
Well, I would be in support of that, surely. The zoning officer's duties are both to review incoming zoning permits, which have increased. 19 and 20 were down, but 21 obviously was up. And then also to run after our property maintenance. Property maintenance is also in the field, talking with the homeowners, and then also in the court time. If we want to, there is more property maintenance than there's hours allotted for the zoning officer, so, there's only so much we can do. But if we want to increase that, then I would be in support of that. I don't know whether
it's
we,
an additional?
yes, so I don't know whether we talk about rates, so, to get a number,
I'd have to figure out the average zoning officer. Do you have any idea?
between $30 and $35 an hour.
No, for full-time.
Yeah, do the math.
So you'd have to add like 71,000 to the budget.
and just to be clear, if we add the position, doesn't mean we have to fill it. But it opens up the possibility of filling it.
Correct.
So
Correct.
right now, we currently have 1 part-time with 8 hours a week and 1 part-time with 15 hours a week. I requested an extra 4 hours onto that, so that would be a total of 20 hours a week. Somewhere in between would be, we'll see how 2022 goes, if maybe we add another
So if we're doing roughly 23 hours a week, 15 and 8, you said?
yes.
So if,
Well,
how,
20,
we're getting,
20.
is there another,
28, because she put in for 20 and the other one works 8.
So 28. So is there enough work for a 40-hour plus another?
In the, no, I would say another part-timer at, I was gonna say between 10 and 10.
So in your opinion,
10,
would it be more prudent to add another part-timer to take up an additional 10 to 15 hours a week.
Right.
The only problem with having a part-timer though,
Yeah.
they're not gonna be the hard-nosed guy that's gonna go around to each of these people's houses and follow up and everything. So, I mean,
Exactly.
I'm all for a full-time person, but maybe we don't need two part-time and we need a third-party independent contractor, maybe an engineer firm that does grant writing, that does zoning, that does engineering review if you get too busy, something along those lines. Maybe we look into that, but I don't see why we would need two part-time and a full-time.
Allison, we have someone currently who is that hard-nosed person that goes out.
Yes.
We have a hard-nosed person to go out,
How many hours are they?
20 a
They're
week.
currently 15,
They're
requesting
15, but we
20.
requested 20.
But if we increase that, I don't know whether or not that individual is interested in full-time, but
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
So
If you
can I
have a
just-
part-timer who's not interested in one of the full-time positions, now we have a
a
problem.
lot of
Right, but
certified
But
can I
so
just
zoning.
move on.
clarify, we're talking about one full-timer and one part-timer?
Yeah, but, yes, but the issue there is, well, they're stating that we don't need a full-timer and a part-timer. So we're talking about possibly, eliminating two part-time positions to put in one full-time position who can then contribute, to review and things when they're not out there. But again, we don't know the personnel situation. We don't know if any of the two part-timers are willing to go full-time. And if they're not, what do we do with them?
I can say one thing, we did advertise for a part-time zoning officer, and we have like 20 applications.
Wow.
Right now. So there are people who want the part-time, and a lot of the zoning officers have multiple towns.
Yeah, But I agree with what you're saying. You need somebody with a vested interest in,
Unless that's his only role is to be that guy.
right.
And that's what we have, and that is effective. That is effective if that's the role. We've delegated right now where one of the individuals is better at review of applications, and the other one is better at hammering for property maintenance.
I'm hoping that we can just at least confirm, though, the need at first. Councilman Quinn mentioned that, that we have a backlog. Do we have a backlog? Are we delaying things with the current setup we have? Or are we on top of it? Are people being, taken care of in a timely manner?
It's definitely seasonal, so obviously in the wintertime, the snow blankets everything. And then when people start to get out and about, they start to call, people start to do activities they're not permitted to do and bring things onto their property. So instead of looking at 35 hours, half of that would meet both the permitting and the property maintenance demand. We do have, there's only so much we could get to in a day, and,
Mr. Quinn?
and by the time you go up to the northern end of town and come back, that's 2 hours I've lost.
I would also probably add too, right, so with what we have now, we're kind of being reactive, right? We're getting complaints and they're going out and inspecting. Possibly if we had another part-time hours, they could go out and be a little more proactive and go out and inspect properties and see what's out there.
Yeah, my biggest concern is Saturday, Sundays. All right, Friday at 4:00, Saturday and Sunday is when the new roofs go on, which we don't need permits for now. All right, but I know of an individual that tried to put a second story on a building that finally got caught and by a zoning officer who did write him up. But this is the type of stuff I want to stop. Property maintenance, we rewrote the ordinance to give them more teeth and the ability to go after people that don't maintain their property. They can't do both, all right? I know it's very difficult from a standpoint of them working on, especially now the season is going to be coming in. I have made multiple calls on houses that people are bringing 2x4s in to build rooms in their basement with one egress. That is another fire hazard. It's dangerous, and I think, I still think a full-timer and a part-timer is the way to go. And get it, have him own it and go to court and hammer these people that are doing it illegally. I'm sorry. That's my position.
You want to make a motion?
I make the motion for the full-timer and the part-time.
I'll second that.
Do we have to state a rate?
Yes, you have to add money, and you have to remember that when you add the full-timer instead of part-timer, you're adding to the cost of vacation, personal, and health.
Yes, but
benefits.
it'll be offset, believe me, by the amount of efficiency that will come out of it with the summonses and the court appearances and everything else. It will definitely make this town much better.
In your motion, you have to include an amount, please.
And you want to give me an amount?
71,000.
So I make a motion to add 71,000 to this existing line item and budget line for a full-time employee.
Is there a second?
Yep, I'll second that again.
Okay, you want to take a roll on this one?
And I would just like to remind everyone, if you're speaking, if you could turn your microphones on so we make sure to pick up your audio on the recorder. Thank you.
Can I make a comment? Also, on the weekends, we have a lot of people who are doing site work, bringing in soil. I don't know whether or not you've observed that, and it's difficult to catch them during the week. So if we could open up that full-time position to possibly having engineering credentials as well, to be a part-time inspector.
Yeah, I think that
would
it's
help.
open now because there's no job,
Okay.
there's no rec, there's nothing open, there's no description on it. I think what we're doing now is at least putting money in the budget to explore adding a full-timer. We're not saying we're going out next week and hiring somebody, but we will have the ability to, once we write, a proper job description for it.
It gives you the ability to do what you have to do to make sure that the residents of this town are serviced the right way.
But couldn't we just look at hiring a part-time person that's just working on the weekends and handling that stuff? With that same criteria that you're saying, and use the 25,000 that we just took out of our salaries and put it towards that person, and now we're at zero?
See, I tend to agree with Mr. Brooks, because if we take the money that we just saved, that'll more than account for what engineering is stating we need, and then as a part-timer, we don't need the benefits, the vacation, all the extras that are gonna cost more than the salary.
That salary's doubled.
And with the same results. That being said, there is a motion, so let's run through that.
Councilman Quinn?
I still feel that this is the right way to go, so I am voting yes.
Councilman Friedlander?
Too many microphones are on. No.
Councilman Brooks?
No.
Councilwoman Noon?
Yes.
Councilman Salberg?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brooks?
No.
Vice President Sackett?
No.
President Kritz?
No. It's 5 noes, 3 yeses, motion does not pass.
Can I make a motion to use that 25,000 that we saved to appoint a person that will be working on the weekends for zoning?
I'll second.
I would second that.
Yeah, they- How many hours is it?
You want to take the roll on that? Did you get that?
We're adding the 25,000 to the zoning officer line item for a
another
part-time
part-timer.
employee.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Quinn?
Yes. Gives me
Councilman
some-
Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilman Brooks?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon?
Yes.
Councilman Salberg?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brooks?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Kritz?
Yes, that's 8 yeses, passes. Okay. Any other discussion? Any other discussion on tab 3?
Yep.
Make a motion to close out tab 3. Anybody opposed? Good. Tab 4 is closed out. Let's move on to tab 5. Opening discussion on tab 5.
Council President?
Yes.
For the prior tabs, we had a motion to close and a motion to approve. Do you want a motion to approve tab 3?
Sorry, let's go back. Can we have a motion?
Make a motion to
Second.
approve,
Anybody
Second that.
opposed to,
as amended.
anybody opposed to approving tab 3 as amended? Good. Opening discussion on tab 5.
I know.
I have a question, actually not a question, I have a concern on page 65. As discussed 2 sessions ago, I had concerns with regards to positions and knowing of possible retirements, and as I thought, that's what is exactly happening. So now we have a captain retiring soon, a lieutenant retiring soon, and some other sergeants retiring soon, and now we are going to be light. And I talked about it 2 years ago, thinking that we needed to add some positions to avoid this, and now we're here. So I want to know what we're going to be doing with these officers that are leaving, and bringing other officers on in time for them to get ready for that position.
I think we're doing that. Yeah, I thought they're in academy.
Yeah, they're in the,
No, not at the low end, at the higher end, where you're talking people that are managing people and dealing with people. Well,
Yeah.
of course.
Well,
You're gonna have to do it if those people are retiring, Manny, so.
so.
That was my concern 2 years ago, that you're throwing people in without proper training and everything else like that, and that was what my concern was 2 years ago, and it came into fruition, so what are we doing with that?
well, that's the chief, he would have to,
Chief's here, he can respond.
We didn't do our department.
Yep.
Oh.
So just out of curiosity, if you have the same opinion than I do, why is that not happening?
Well, basically, what we've been doing is we've been waiting until somebody goes off the books. We're replacing it. You make the
That's not
lieutenant,
true.
they're making that pay as soon as they're promoted.
Understandable, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a large amount of money.
If possible, I'd like to see, these people pre-trained, so somebody goes out the door, somebody's there to sit. I don't want their chairs, whether it's in their office or whether it's in a radio car.
I agree with you. I think we're pre-training in other areas in the town right now, in the administration department, and I don't understand why we're not doing it for the most important thing, which is life and safety. So the fact that now we're,
Training, we are doing that. When there's somebody else lets us know that they intend to retire,
It's all being done.
as soon as we figure out more likely who that person is going to be moving forward, we start cross-training and
Already done.
responsibilities and the duties of that position.
is that happening now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have filled every position, and actually, the person who's in the academy now is one of these people who are leaving. We hired him last year, knowing that we were gonna be short in January. So one of these positions is already done. So we have done that all along. We are not behind.
Can't do it until they.
I'm talking not at the patrolman level. I'm
I
talking
understand.
about the other levels.
I understand that, and that's the chief's job to make sure that his people are trained to take those positions, just like the rest of us do in our department.
Can't post until they hand it
Yeah.
their paperwork,
And we don't post until they're gone.
until they hand it their paperwork.
paperwork's gotta be in.
Yeah.
Because they could pull it too.
So can I just have clarification on the patrolman side? So based upon, and forgive me, I'm new at this. based upon what I think I'm hearing, we potentially may have 3 patrolman openings. One is potentially an academy to fill, so that's 2 officer openings that we are already posted for or looking for or not yet.
We can't until they're gone. And we now have the option of hiring police from other towns, which we did for the last 4 out of the 5 that we hired, and they were able to come in and be productive almost immediately.
Okay, because that's my other
And
concern.
we can do that again if the mayor chooses
Right,
to do
there's
that.
just a knowledge transfer, if you will, as well, that I
Yeah.
would want to make sure everyone has prior to hitting the road.
Yes.
Every officer, whether they're new out of the academy, or whether it's somebody with, let's say, 10 or 15 years on, they go through the field training program. What that does is, first of all, familiarizes themselves, if they're not a native of Rockaway Township, familiarize themselves with the township itself, the roads, the areas, what have you. It also brings them into the culture of Rockaway Township and showing them how we do business. Officer comes from Newark or Elizabeth or something, they do things different, and they're also, I mean, the officer sees a different prosecutor's office. When they come to Rockaway Township, they have to learn how, one, Morris County has certain policies and procedures and directives they have to follow. The same thing, Rockaway Township has certain policies, procedures, and directives they have to follow. And that's taken into account for an 8-week field training course. So every officer, whether they're fresh out of the academy or whether they're coming from another department, gets that in-house training.
And I understand that in 8 weeks to me is a really long period of time if we have a hole that we have to fill, so then that potentially gets filled by overtime.
If we fall below minimum staffing,
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, the cost savings, if you will, right, overtime or kind of for a short minute paying 2 people potentially, so that's all. I'm just trying to understand the difference. Thank you.
Page 70,
70.
051. We had a discussion with the vehicle committee, and at that committee meeting, we suggested that we move to 3 patrol cars, not 4, and it doesn't look like that was carried over, and I want to know why.
The vehicle committee makes recommendations, but this budget was presented as the mayor and administration wanted to, and you are welcome to add it.
Then I am going to request to add a 3rd patrol car to that amount to bring it up to 3.
I'll second that.
Hang on, how many cars do we have today? How many cars do we have today?
currently we have 5 specialty vehicles, 6 school vehicles, 7 admin vehicles, 16 frontline vehicles, 6 detective bureau vehicles, and 4 third party altogether.
So we have, and I know the cars that we ordered a year and even 2 years ago, we're still waiting for those, correct?
They should be coming in April.
So how many cars are we,
For last year,
how many cars are we getting in April?
we're getting 2.
So we're getting 2 in April, and then there's,
When did the 4 come in? In January? The 4 came in from the previous year?
The previous year was 4.
Yeah, they just came in this year.
For April is the
so we're getting 6 new cars this year.
6 in 2022.
4 and then 2.
And,
What was sold.
and we're ordering another 2, and you want to order another one on top of that.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll be in till when?
Probably next year.
They will not be manufactured until October. Because all the vehicles, all these police vehicles are manufactured down in Australia. Australia has what we consider, wrong side drive. So all the manufacturing that's going on now is for the European style cars. In October, they switch over production lines for the left-hand side, like for ourselves and Canada. So these vehicles are not going to be produced until October of this year.
We get our vehicles from Australia?
I'm just thinking that.
Just
Crazy.
Australia or Austria? From Canada.
Austria, right?
The production facilities up in Canada, so now they're manufactured in October in Australia, and it's all over from Australia, up from there, to Port
Down
Vegas,
under.
from there, on train to
I thought it was
Philadelphia.
Australia, but not Australia.
That's staggering. You'd think, Ford would have a guy.
You would think so.
Shocked that's not.
Everything is manufactured up in Canada.
Right.
Closed down those facilities, they moved everything, due to economic considerations, everything's produced in Australia. Like I said, with Australia, they have the rights on it. So they're manufacturing in Australia for their own market, then they switch production facilities over to the Canadian, North American, style, which is the left-hand side drive. They manufacture whatever orders they have, and they ship them by boat up to Los Angeles.
See the problem?
So, okay.
That's the reason why the Vehicle Review Committee said to add three.
Three.
Because of the time lapse
I
that's
get it.
involved.
My question is we have 6 new cars this year, and a car costs how much?
A car and outfitted is 66,000, but also the, chief gave me something that he has a vehicle shortage for this year, so you would have to add 28,000, that's almost 85,000 you would have to add to the budget.
Okay, so we have 6 new cars. We're saying yes to 2. Now, but as I look at it, so each captain and each lieutenant has their own car, right?
They share.
Which they should, is what I'm saying. I mean, there's
Yeah,
only
they
one
all
on at
share.
a time, right, mostly? Okay, so,
We're talking about the 4 frontline cars that are constantly running 24/7.
so that brings up something else. So that's a good point. So my question is on that. So when we see the officers out at, these other jobs, like right now down Green Pond Road, they're putting up lines. So there's police cars all up and down the road.
Those are not our front line. We have the older,
Third party.
cars that have the higher mileage, those are put into what we call the third-party fleet.
Right.
And those are the vehicles that are used,
Yeah.
like you see, they're sitting there with the lights on.
But, right, so my question is, and I get it, I get that they're not frontline, but so these officers are getting paid, correct? Okay. Who's paying for the car?
There's a $5 an hour fee that the town gets.
$5 an hour. We're spending more than that in gas. So what do other towns get for this?
I've only talked to a couple, they get like 100 and something a day, or, I would have to do a research on that.
Because I get it, so we're putting hours on the cars, which is gonna lead to new cars, so it's
Correct.
costing us money. Yes, the officers are getting paid as they should, but it's costing us money to put them out at these details.
Correct.
Okay, so, and this is maybe just a procedural question, how do we go about changing that? Who sets that rate?
The township, it came from a recommendation from the chief. I asked them to review it this year, and they came back with the same recommendation, which I'm having a hard time with.
It's contractual, it's through the contracts for the rank and file and security.
Not the cost of their,
No,
cost of the
Not
car.
salary.
the officers
car.
deserve their salary. I'm talking about the fee that the town gets for putting the car out there.
The $5 an hour.
And the $5 out of the officers,
But who sets that?
I would imagine it'd be the town.
Do you think? I
It's
mean,
fine.
right.
Just so you know, I asked
Howard.
Captain to research that this year, and he came back, and I said, I don't think that's enough money, and he came back, in the police department and said they think they do. I still have an issue with that.
Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, the state police, I know they'll do some third party, and I'd be curious to see what they charge, how much they get per car going back to the state. Because the officers get their fee through third party, yes, I understand that. But there should be a usage fee for the car that the officer is in, and I agree with you. At the rate that gas is going up, we're gonna be in the hole every time we put somebody on a third party job.
Administration can look into that.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, we're looking to make money from this.
Correct.
I'm not looking to just break even.
That's right.
I also have to look at the law on that, because there is something about administrative fee.
We're not
We
charging
might have to
$1,000
call it
a day, I'm
something else.
No,
We will look into that.
$100.
Yeah. For the day?
Whatever the rate is.
We will look into that and adjust that.
It's at least $12 an hour, 12 and change an hour.
Okay. That being said, there was a motion on the floor. Can you repeat it?
It has to
Zach made a
have,
motion, he wanted to increase the line item to add another vehicle, but we need a dollar amount.
that's, yeah. And the chief just sent up a message that if you're gonna change this, he's also has a shortfall. So you would have to make a motion for 85,000 for that line item. To cover the shortfall.
Last year, we had borrowed money that we were gonna be using for outfitting the cars this year. We had to take that money and put it towards body worn cameras, which was a state mandate last year.
So we got a grant for that. We had a grant for a body camera.
It also was a shortfall because the year before, they were approved for 3 vehicles in the budget. An officer came up and said, I have enough money to someone in my administration staff to order 4 cars. That person did not take into consideration that it's just not the price of the cars. What was in that line item was the outfitting too. So it left stuff short for the last 2 years between the body worn cameras and them adding a 4th car.
Wasn't the body cameras a grant?
Only, it wasn't 100%.
It was supposed to be 100%.
But
So what was it?
it was short, it was only 108.
It was 108.
It was 108 for the grant, but the body cameras cost a lot more than that. 130 something,
Typical mandate.
We got a grant back, I believe it was 108.
108.
And it was a shortfall of $47,000 that we had to pay for the outfitting of the cars.
And then that left us a shortfall to put in the cars that we have. And the county changed something, right, a requirement in the car. And the cars we have a center council that did not fit what the county mandated us to have. So they have a shortfall of 28,970. And if you add that, it's almost 85,000 that you have to add to the budget for the car plus the shortfall.
85,000.
85,000?
85.
We owe money for something else.
Can I have a quick question on this?
Yeah.
I know we're talking about money and stuff. I was just wondering, I was gonna ask this later, but maybe this could help with this, with the car. I know last year we'd gotten about 2.2 million for COVID money. Was that all used up? Could any of that be used towards any of this stuff? I was just wondering.
We used the CARE grant that we got. Now, the money we're getting from federal, we only got half of it, and we've already allocated that to our water system, water and sewer system, that you guys all voted on, and we haven't gotten the other half yet. And I don't know if it can be used for police cars, but we're hoping to get forfeiture money too, and we can offset it for that. But if you put that in there, we don't have to spend it all if we get the forfeiture or another grant that comes through. We don't always spend it. That's how we had the money left from 2020 and made us so healthy this year, is because we don't spend it if you put it there if we don't need to. I can promise you that.
Okay, so just wondering about that money. Thank you.
In regards to forfeiture money, the only thing is you can't use that for military items.
Careful.
So just before we vote, the one thing, as Manny and Councilman Quinn and I sat in that meeting about, in discussion with the police officers, was, it was great that they got 4. 2, they seemed to struggle. So the thought was, well, if we just stick with 3, and 3 is the number every year, I would rather know what that is and we budget it, instead of like, oh, now we gotta come up with another, instead of X, now we gotta come up with twice X. Well, that doesn't make sense. If we could just go with 3, and then at that point, maybe those vehicles go to a different department later on that don't need it as much as they do. Councilman Quinn, thank you.
Can I say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, prior councils, I'm going back many years, we replaced the 4 frontline cars all the time, and those 4 frontline cars were then handed down, if they were roadworthy, to various departments, such as third party, or now you have the school officers, all right? That's how we used to do it. We got away from it when we had a change of council and a change of thought, and now we're back, as usual, behind the 8 ball, trying to push things forward. And I agree with Doug, moving to 3, knowing the time lag getting these cars is important. To get us back to where the fleet and the safety of the officer is more important than the expenditure, because one lawsuit and we're done. So that's where my thoughts are.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what Doug and Jack are saying. It's not like you go into a dealer at 10 o'clock in the morning and have a cup of coffee and your car's ready and you can drive out an hour and a half later. This, I know that for a fact. But, and that's what the chief is saying. We got 4 plus 2 that were ordered a year plus. You put these in, you're not going to see these 3 vehicles till at least the end of 2023.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, right. And especially what's going on now, I mean, it may even take longer. So you got to be proactive with this. We got to maintain the
We
vehicle.
have a motion, let's vote.
Councilman Quinn?
Yes.
Councilman Friedlander?
Hold on
Sorry,
a second.
Wait,
What?
hold on one second.
The motion is to go to 3.
To 3.
Oh, I'm sorry.
85,000.
I made a mistake. It should be 95. My mistake. Sorry.
95.
Doug, I need 10.
My mistake. Sorry, I forgot to carry the one.
Doug will take care of it.
It's a good thing we have finance
Good thing we
sitting
have
next to you.
you here.
Thank you for that.
My mistake.
Okay,
So you got to modify the motion to 95,000,
Please modify the motion to 95,000.
and I'll second that.
Thank you.
Councilman Quinn?
Yes.
Councilman Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilman Brooks?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon?
Yes.
Councilman Salberg?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brooks?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Kretz?
Yes, 8 yeses, passes.
I have nothing else in this tab.
Anybody else for tab 5? No? Do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Wait, Manny?
Let me ask one fast question.
Go ahead.
Vehicle maintenance,
Which page?
page 70, since we were on that same page. Yeah, 025. Okay, you requested 50,000, recommended 62,000.
We just bought all these cars.
Well, they're new cars, so there's less vehicle maintenance.
But you still have the.
So can you bring it down to the requested amount? And there's, instead of the 8 plus the mistake that you made,
Hey, you can get the mic. You want to get that mic?
yes.
We combined 2 different accounts into one. That's why you see the increase there. It's 62,000.
Which was the other account?
Which was the other account?
034.
And 034.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, 0.
Yep.
Okay. Explained, I withdraw my recommendation. How's that?
That was good.
Okay.
Also, just to let the council know, you also use that besides the police.
Well, that's okay, well, we make it grand. That's why I'm saying it.
Oil changes.
Got it.
Yeah, almost.
Correct.
Anything else for tab 5?
No.
Make a motion to close out tab 5?
So moved.
Anybody opposed? Great. Want to make a motion to approve tab 5?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, there you go.
How's that?
Thanks. Anybody opposed? Great. Tab 6.
Got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
On page 101, says vacant outside employee.
101.
Yeah, 101, outside employee, does that mean, what does that mean?
Like 5 lines down.
He's outside.
No, I thought like, is it outside employee, like someone out of the town, or someone, I don't know, or just working outside of the, I don't know what it means.
I just figured out.
He doesn't go in the building. He's outside.
the building.
Listen, Mr. Hopkins,
We're subbing out certain people to do certain positions.
You know, people doing certain positions.
Oh.
I didn't know if outside employee meant like outside employee, someone out of the town.
No, that's a supervisor's position. Al, you can answer that. That he doesn't feel that anybody can be promoted for.
Okay, so that's it.
So
They're
we
looking
need
to hire someone
experience,
from
we need
outside.
experience for that.
Okay, see, you guys are wrong.
Is that
Someone
correct,
just
Al?
stands outside.
You're not allowed.
Yeah. You can't come inside.
That's a fancy,
So they have no one qualified for that
fancy
position.
crossing guard. Guy guarding the soldier,
Huh?
unknown soldier, just.
Okay. Hey, that was my question.
No, it's a good question. Anything else for tab 5? I'm sorry, tab 6. Anything else for tab 6? On a side note, I'd like to note that we did see a lot of questions come in ahead of time and answered, unlike the last 2 years. So, and I think this is one of the reasons that this is moving along at a good clip. You know, I know, Jeff, you're usually used to a big back and forth here, but a lot of these questions went, we've had a lot of discussions independently, so.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
I just got one
One
quick
more.
question. You go first.
He was first.
You go first.
Page 119, part-time clerk 1, that's a new position?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't coming from like a different department. I know sometimes you move, this person's coming from over here.
Well, someone from over here can apply for that, but it
Okay.
is a new position. Allison is full-time up there, and she has a lot more I can't talk about the person. Sorry. The people up there need more help because they've gotten more responsibilities, and they need help.
Okay.
And it's actually a good training because the person's been there a long time. This is kind of having someone else trained too that can do the secretarial work.
Okay, thank you.
What a concept.
Excuse me for being
Anything else on tab 6?
I just got one quick question. I know with the police officers and all the other ones, their vehicles are in their budget, and then for the vehicles for the public works, that was in our capital. And I'm just questioning if someone could just give me an answer why, and why it's not in the budget.
here, because they,
All right, you want me to do it? So the police officers, their vehicles, they are not considered capital unless they're an SUV in nature. So they are accounted for in the operating budget.
We have to own them.
Well, we own them.
Outright.
We own them either way, but it's
Yeah,
the
but
nature
it's
of the
outright.
vehicle. If it's a four-wheel drive, it can be considered capital. If it's a four-door sedan, it has to be considered operating. That's just per the local bond law.
Right, but we were just getting SUVs for the police, right? That's what I said, right?
It didn't specify SUV, it's just a police vehicle.
I thought it said SUVs in there.
No, it
Written spec.
didn't specify.
But we could include that in their line item.
We could put a four-wheel drive in their operating budget, yes, but we can't go the other way. We can't put a four-door sedan in capital.
Right, but we could, in theory, under the same principle that we were talking before, say to Al, you're gonna get 4 new vehicles a year, and we could put them in his line item instead of putting it in capital.
Yes, you could, but you have to be, also be aware of the 2% levy cap, because you're now and you have to be cognizant of the appropriation cap. So there's certain things that you have to make sure you're not gonna go over those caps, otherwise then you're cutting from somewhere else.
Okay, but I just wanted to know that could happen.
Yes.
If we decided that was better. Okay, thank you.
Again, forgive me, I'm new, but I thought we just approved 3 SUVs at the police department.
We did.
Okay.
we don't know what kind of vehicle it is.
Well, in the budget, it says SUV.
So,
Does it?
It says it is.
Sorry.
No, I don't. I would rather keep them in their. I would rather keep it in their budget. I would rather not. I would rather nothing. I would rather the.
All right, anything else for tab 6?
Instead of capital.
Anything else for tab 6?
15 years when we paid
Rachel, you
for it
good?
today.
I think I'm good.
Manny,
Yes.
you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Make a motion to close out tab 6.
So moved.
Anybody opposed? Make a motion to approve tab 6.
I make the motion.
Second.
Anybody opposed? Great. Tab 7.
My favorite tab.
And this is one that we can't play with. This one should have been moved with the rest of them.
This is garbage and trash.
Okay,
Yeah.
make a motion to approve tab 7.
So moved.
Second.
We have no choice.
Anybody opposed?
Yep.
Good. Moving on to tab 8. Any discussion on tab 8?
I have a question. Page 136. Just out of curiosity, we used to have part-time recycling attendants, and we don't now, and I was just wondering why. Or are they covered under something else, or what do we got?
Instead of having the part-timers, which we were having trouble getting, Al got an increase a couple years ago to hire a full-time recycle person, and we changed the hours now of the recycling people to cover the weekends without overtime. So we made a move to eliminate that and eliminate overtime and change the hours of the people in DPW, in the recycling. And I think they're rotated, right? Are they rotated, the weekend people?
Just a question back to Al, real quick. And I'm throwing it out there because I do most of my yard work on Saturday and Sundays, and we're not open on Sundays. Is there a possibility of maybe going to Saturday, Sunday, and maybe taking off Monday, Tuesday? Just out of curiosity, because most people do their yard work on a Sunday, right? I mean, and we can't do anything with it. And I see people with like leaves and stuff stuck in their sedans coming in on Tuesday when so just putting it out there as a possibility.
Well, we can look into that, but I have to look at the contracts too.
No, that's fine.
We'll look into, I think it's a good idea to look at, but I would suggest not 2 days in a row, on Monday and Tuesday, maybe like a Monday and a Wednesday.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just I appreciate that. That's all.
Yeah, I did have on page 139, and I did ask this question to the administration, did get an answer back, but still just don't know if it's a little overkill. Again, we're kind enough to reply on account number 111, requested 10,000, recommended 35,000. I certainly get, wanting to, play it safe, but 3.5 times the amount requested, is that playing it a little too oversafe?
The concern was looking at the year before what we actually expended. In 2020, we spent 41,000, not knowing what the market's going to bring, and Al can probably discuss it further, but.
I can tell you that the second quarter, I believe off the top of my head, was around a $26,000 check that the township had to pay to recycle to the Morris County.
To get rid of it.
Yeah, just, all right, so there is a good chance that these fees are gonna be right up there into the 35,000 realm. Fair enough, thank you.
Any other discussion on tab 8?
But, yeah, one more on that one as well, following off Adam as well. So I know 2020 was very high, but 2021, as you see, is very low. But we did have 70 grand we put in the budget last year. I think we talked about last year. I thought they said it was about $3,000 a month. Is that what it was?
Like I said, it could vary. It can go from $3,000 to $6,000 per month, just to
3 to
recycle.
3 to 6.
And of course, the market is driven by speculation.
So realistically, though, if you think about it, 10 to 35, like Adam said, it's a lot. 25,000 more. And you only requested 10, right? You requested 10, and then it was bumped to 35. Would you be comfortable if we put it to 25?
We could, but we would have to go back to the recycling trust.
Okay.
And the recycling trust is dwindling very quickly.
We need to turn that up.
Whatever they don't spend goes back to the trust.
Yeah.
And builds the trust back up because they draw from that when they're short.
How much? Do you know how much is in the trust?
sorry, I don't have that number.
Just a
off the top of
guess.
my head.
No? Okay.
Did we actually only spend 11,000 this year?
Yeah,
And we put 70,000, so 60,000 went into the trust
yeah,
this year?
should be.
It would go in next year into the trust.
60 grand over from last year.
Because it's a two-year budget cycle, so at the end of '22, I would move '21's money into the trust.
So that money is not available to us right
No, I'm not saying it's, I'm just wanting,
Yeah.
but it's 60,000 will be going into the trust, is what I'm asking.
Potentially, this was cut off at December 31st. If there were January and February invoices that came in from previous year, that's not reflected here.
That's fine, I just.
Roughly, you're
But it-
in the ballpark.
That's what it would be. Okay, thank you. Have you learned the new math? Math ain't math.
Anything else on, tab 8?
I just want to make a comment for anyone who may see it. I had asked about the tub grinders, because I'm like a believer in maybe if you buy it, it's better. But I just want everyone to know, a tub grinder is like $1.2 million.
That's why you don't buy it.
That's why you don't buy it.
So that 9,000 with the operator and all the fuel, like, I have to just say, that was like, all right. That's a
Besides,
deal.
With a tub
So-
grinder, you
So
also
just
have
you know, Al, I want you to have things.
You gotta sharpen those blades on the tub grinder also, so yeah, no. Yep. I know.
Oh, those things are expensive.
I was trying to give Al something, I'm like, give it.
Give
No,
the tub
sorry,
grinder.
Al, you're out.
Use something else under the tree this year.
He's happy to hire someone.
Besides, the liability goes to whoever we get it from, so.
I was floored.
All right, anything else for tab 8? No. Make a motion to close out tab 8.
So moved.
Anybody opposed?
Second.
Make a motion to
Make a
approve.
motion to approve tab 8.
Second.
Second.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Moving on to tab 9.
Environmental Committee.
Not tab 9. I think you can skip tab 9.
No.
The, page 146.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was.
Shh. Eat your cupcake. So loud.
I thought it was a short page, that's why.
The, Community Service Director for $136,000. I'd like to make a motion to remove that.
I'll second
I
that.
second it.
Any discussion?
Can I discuss it?
Yes, of course.
Okay, it's in our ordinance, and it is a department head that's required by our ordinance. And we always had one, and when we had the unsettled council, they just unfunded it, but it is required in our ordinance.
I just said remove it. We haven't had it in a couple of years.
Well, if it's in the ordinance, we would have to change the ordinance.
We can change the ordinance. Yeah, they could change the number, it's just not the final ledger.
Does everybody know what the position of community director does? He oversees 4 subdivisions, and right now, nobody's overseeing them.
How long has that position been vacant?
At least 5.
Yeah, with no problems.
We've had a lot of change of personnel in there, and I think there's some people need direction. But that's totally up to you, but it is in the ordinance. If you want to change the salary, I'm fine with that too.
Just real quick, one of the parts of the questions that I asked specifically about this one was, is the pay scale in line with similar positions in other communities? I think, unfortunately, that wasn't answered in your reply, so
Well,
is this in line, or?
No, because I did answer it, it's a very unique position,
Oh.
and other towns don't have that. They have a Department of Recreation, they have a Department of Health. We have those combined here with the Department of Community Service and everything. We have four divisions, I think, in there, so they're all combined, they're not separate. In other towns, they're separate departments.
Okay, so there was a motion to eliminate the position, correct? Yes. And it was seconded?
Mm-hmm.
Councilman Quinn,
Yes.
Councilman Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilman Brooks,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon,
Yes.
Councilman Salberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brooks,
No.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Kritz,
No. 5 yeses, 2 nos. It carries.
6 yeses.
6 yeses, that's what I said.
Thank you.
Two eliminated.
30.
Anything else on tab 9?
I had a question on the recreational sport programs. I lost my page, but it's relevant. How do we ensure equity amongst all of the groups? Is there a calculation? Like, how does that work?
So I've been digging into this, and I've had some meetings with our several leaders in that group, and we're evaluating that now. My opinion in looking at it today, I don't believe there is equity, and so it's going to take time, though, for us to figure out the best model, and we've had several meetings. We'll continue to have meetings, and then when we get to the point, I'm going to involve program heads, and then we'll go through and start talking through. But I don't think there's a good formula that if you looked at it and said, this is why this program's getting this much money. I just think it's what they always got, and that's what we're doing, and we are addressing it and looking at it closely.
Excellent, I appreciate that.
I would just like to quickly just piggyback a little bit on that. One of the things that I know, and if you notice, a lot of the spring sports have this issue, has to do with the ordinance, and I'm hoping to revisit that ordinance to look for a change, because what happens is a lot of the spring sports, the budget's not passed or anything prior to the sport starting, so they have to use their own funds in order to get all that equipment, all the uniforms and everything else. And based upon the way the ordinance is written now, they are not getting reimbursed because they're not following, quote unquote, the procedure of purchasing it through one of their vendors, which in theory doesn't give you the best price, and then you're kind of stuck. And I know several of those programs have that issue, so that's an ordinance that I know that we are going to need to discuss on the ordinance committee to make it so that those programs get reimbursed, because they haven't been reimbursed in a couple of years based upon that criteria.
Correct.
But they could still get reimbursed if they get the.
Not based upon somebody in this room telling me, no.
Okay.
And that's the reason why some of those sports have not been reimbursed, because they told told those sports they are not getting reimbursed.
What happened to that money? Just went back into the.
It goes to the
Trust.
I actually recommended in our vehicle committee that Babe Ruth would be willing to donate their monies from last year to the new lawnmower that Dave is needing to buy. So I would hope maybe that we could take the funds that were not given to Babe Ruth from last year and put those into the purchase of the new lawnmower. Would someone like to second that, please?
Well, but the lawnmower would be in a different tab.
That's capital.
Yeah, but we could, well, maybe we don't put the lawnmower in capital, and we put it into his budget, because he's gonna need one. So,
I guess that also goes back to my question about like equity and calculation. So you have all of these sport programs and all of these facilities, and everyone has different needs and wants, right? But at the end of the day, some of them overlap. For example, Dave needs a new lawnmower. That's something that football can benefit from, baseball, softball, so on and so forth.
Everybody.
And then you have other programs who get a minimal amount of money, and they have to go out and find their own space and their own facilities, and the amount of money we get, and then based upon what they're even paying for rent per month, doesn't even cover one. So, talking in that respect, and I appreciate Mayor's answer, but I really think this all needs to be reevaluated as a whole, and where the township either takes control or has a better overview or umbrella in respect to the ordering of uniforms goes through these particular vendors and so on and so forth. I understand that recreation is our role, but these sport programs operate as separate businesses. And I think us just reimbursing them here and there and not necessarily understanding needs, and one program thinking they need something more than another and taking the rights to that space or even funds is just becoming a problem. And in this township, we have a lot of resources, and it's not just sports, it's our seniors, it's any type of recreational community outreach or programming that can benefit from all of these things. I go back to movie night is a prime example, Rockaway Day. All of those things are for our community, and people like Dave and them have to be involved. So where's the overview and schedule, if you will, of what the township does, and so on and so forth? You have $200,000 just kind of being given away, and I say that loosely because I get it, they're residents, but how can we reevaluate that?
So,
But anyway, I'll get off that
Mrs.
soapbox.
Brooks, that's a great point, and that's exactly my point, and that's why I've been having these meetings. We've had 2 meetings so far. There's been some takeaways, some follow, but it's a large part of our community. It's a part of our budget, and there's a lot of components, as you mentioned. We're looking at how other towns do it, how other programs, how they're handled based on the nature of our sports programs. Like you said, they're all separate entities now. Most of them are nonprofits. How can we legally fund them? We're looking at all these things. It's a big project, and so we have like 3 or 4 people working on it right now, and I'm probably gonna meet with them like once a week, once every other week, and get updates. Probably not until at least the summer or fall, we'll have an update and some recommendations back to the council, and then we can talk about getting sports programs involved and how we're gonna approach it. But it's not a quick fix. It's something we gotta really look at.
So maybe that community service director would be viable if they were running every single program.
That was gonna be my
Well,
next question.
that's part of it. But listen, there's different directions we can go in. So some of it, one direction could be that there's a lot more accountability for recreation here, and some of it could be that there's not. So those are the things we're evaluating, right? There's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of things to consider, and we're just digging into it. We got a lot of experienced people that have been doing this for a long time, and we're getting everybody's opinions, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Yeah, the CRC, the Community Rec Committee, has been kicking this around and working on this for almost 2 years. It's not an easy fix, that, as the mayor has said. I know I've been on it for a long time. Jonathan is on it, and we are trying to come up with an equity formula for everybody. And what also came up about that was the scheduling of the new field and who gets priority and who doesn't get priority. Travel team versus in-house teams, okay? Those are all big global issues that are going to have to be developed through administration down the road, and with the help of the CRC. And, as the mayor said, with people with knowledge, so.
Right.
I remember 2-3 years ago when we had all the sports heads in the Citizen Rec Committee meeting,
Yep.
and we tried to get everyone on board to one central registration system, and it was a disaster.
Totally.
And
In this room.
and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
There, registration through the town.
Yep.
Like we used to in the 80s when we'd come down to town hall and pick up our uniforms and then return them at the end of the season.
Yep.
So yeah.
And that was the best way to recruit volunteers, because right now you don't have the ability to help recruit because they're doing it online and it's impersonal.
And again, that's a great point, Vice President Sackett, and that's why this isn't it's not a quick process, right? It's gonna take us some time to get into, and I'll give you, Mr. Brooks, to what you were saying. There's examples of towns that they have ways they fund the programs, but it's like, okay, Babe Ruth baseball, we're gonna pay for your baseballs. These are balls you're getting though. If you don't like them, go buy your own then, so we gotta look at all, there's a lot of things to consider, not just the equipment, the fields, the people involved, how the programs are run, the number of
Safety of
participants,
kids.
safety, everything. So it's just, we're starting, we just, probably 3 weeks ago, I had the first meeting, we're starting to really build some momentum, so we'll have information back to everybody.
Very good.
Good.
Based on my motion that's out there.
Can I say something? No, okay.
Your pick. Go ahead.
What was your motion?
First, Lisa, I don't know if you could use last year's money for this year's operating expense.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it. I don't think it's,
We would move it at the end of this year.
Can't be used this year.
It would be for next year.
Can I ask you what happened to the money from 2 years ago that was supposed to be used towards the field, that you guys never used towards the field?
I don't know.
It went probably to the reserve.
That's the problem I have here, is
That's
people
where it goes.
make handshakes and they say they're gonna do
I
things
know.
and then they don't do it, and then all of a sudden the people lose their money and the programs lose their money.
What about the money for the lights up at Oak Meadow? Did we get all that money? for
Um,
lights?
It's still there for
Okay.
when the lights go in.
Okay.
It's still there.
Can I ask, Mr. Dyer, how many sports groups didn't get reimbursed this year?
All of them currently outside of wrestling, so they didn't hand their paperwork in,
And Babe Ruth?
and Babe Ruth.
So there's only two that didn't get it. And as Lisa said, that money next year will be moved into the trust fund.
The Recreation Trust or
Recreation Trust. We can do that.
do you still want to?
It's all going to the Recreation Trust and not the general.
Okay. I think you have to withdraw your motion. Say it.
Was it seconded?
He seconded it.
I'm not getting, it's not, the lawnmower wasn't for me, it was for those guys over there. I withdraw my motion.
It wasn't seconded, so,
Oh, all right.
No one seconded, Doug.
okay.
Anything else on tab 9?
No.
Make a motion to
Make a
close out.
motion.
To close out tab 9?
Well, don't we have to do it with the changes to the next change?
We're gonna close and then we'll approve as amended.
You close it, yeah,
With the change.
Oh, I'm sorry.
close it.
That was the community, that was the same tab. Make a motion to close out tab 9 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody opposed?
Cut 136.
I have a motion to approve tab 9 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Moving on to tab 11. Ms. Eager, this is not a fixed cost?
This is a fixed cost
Yeah.
you're not gonna touch.
It's not a fixed cost, but it's the cost we put in. The AccuVac is a fixed cost, but the other one is we put a provision in because we're in negotiations with 6 unions, and we hope we put enough in there.
So it's page 166, sub-account 2 is what is,
166.
Yeah.
1 and 2 is for the.
just 2 is the new provision.
And I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole,
Yeah,
so
that's-
I'm making a motion to approve it.
Didn't we approve tab 10?
What's that?
thought we
We're in, no, we
we
already
were in-
approved tab 10 as
We're
part
in
of.
11.
We're in 11,
We did 10 as part of the group earlier.
yes. So I make a motion to approve page, tab 11.
Second. Anybody opposed? Okay,
12 we already did.
12 through 17 are done, so we're moving on to tab 18. We approved 16.
Yes, we're on 17.
We approved 17 first, that was the court. He went first.
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, this is the capital fund, yeah.
It's just for fun though, this isn't the capital.
We won't need it this year.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Any discussion?
So no elaboration as to what this is earmarked for, or any planning for this?
What page?
This is,
It was 211.
211.
this is the capital improvement fund.
Yeah.
We are required by statute to put 5% down on our capital projects, and this is used to fund that.
So
This represents the 5%.
This is 5% plus an additional, you can see the change from 200 to
Yep.
700. So 500,000 was put in to fund projects without having to borrow. We would basically be paying cash. It's not earmarked for any particular project, it's just part of the 22 capital plan. Oh, the reasoning behind it is because we had such a healthy fund balance, as Ray had explained earlier, so we were able to have that luxury of moving it in there.
Great. Any other discussion?
Make a motion to close that tab.
Yep. Anybody say?
Second.
Anybody opposed?
I make a motion to approve it.
I'll second. Anybody opposed? Okay. 19 and 20 were already approved.
Yep.
Tab 21.
Again.
Anybody?
Page 229, sub-account 31, chemicals. It says, 2021, we adopted 30,000, we spent 39, and we're looking for an additional 30. It says additional chemicals needed on page 231 for Pondview sewer stations. Are we getting any money in from Pondview to cover those costs, or? No, we're paying for it all.
No, we're not.
Okay,
We're not. This is the chemical that is used to, for the sewer system
okay,
itself. It's added into the sewer system at the pumping. It goes from there. It's required by RBRSA.
okay.
Isn't it an enzyme that helps break down the materials?
It does, it also
Yeah.
reduces the oxygen, and that reduces it actually, the gases actually start eating away, destroying the pipe itself.
Correct.
And you guys, when you purchase the chlorine tablets and all that stuff needed, is it purchased through one of the co-ops? How is the purchase of work on this?
So our chlorine tabs are purchased through the co-op. Our sequestrant is not, we use a specific sequestrant for our water system.
Is that something that gets bid on or something, or you just go and look for, how does that work for getting the sequestrant?
The sequestrant we use has been analyzed, and it's the best for our system that we use.
Al, it was approved, when they approved to go to that system, the prior councils made a resolution to use that actual, so that's how we buy it.
That's sequestrant?
Yeah.
Where do you get it from? Do you know the? What? Koi Chemical? Coin.
Anything else on?
Thank you.
I have a question on 232. Other equipment and supplies, it seems like 25,000 was requested and we're recommending 16,000. Just based upon the notes on what the equipment and supplies are, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I get a lot of water main break text messages, so are we sure that 16,000 is going to be appropriate?
What we are asking for in the capital, money for pipe replacement.
Okay, so we think that'll counteract? Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure the money's there. I don't know, I have a septic and a well, but I do get a lot of texts about the water main breaks.
Yeah, I do too, especially.
Water rates, the water right here. That's great.
Yeah. You know,
Maybe it's you.
Dougie's got a lot of kids, I can't have him showering at my house.
I need some of that,
Enzyme.
chemical, yeah.
All right, anything else on tab? Anything else on tab 21?
Just a quick question on 232, which is at the account 072, it says per agreement, so what is the agreement with Dover, 300,000 or 250,000? 232.
Account 72.
Yes, just curious, it says per agreement, and I figured that would be fixed, without any changes. Maybe.
The usage, the water purchases from Dover, it depends on the usage, right?
Yeah, because we're shorting it by 50,000, we're okay with that, or the agreement? Okay.
So we think they're kind of.
And the mall is less usage, so the water level goes down.
Anything else? Make a motion to close out tab 21.
So move.
Anybody opposed?
Second.
Make a motion to approve tab 21.
So move.
Second.
Anybody opposed? Last tab. Tab 23.
Yep. Now, Lisa, this open space trust fund is a misnomer. It's also used for other historical or recreation, correct?
Yes, it's broad in that respect.
Yeah, it should have a slash there with those two lines.
Okay.
Added
There is no tab.
for the next generation that comes in here, and so they understand
Will
it.
do.
Hang on a second. There is no 24 is just the org chart. We're on 23.
That's what it's called in the audit.
Yeah, what page are you on? 235.
235.
There's only one, I pulled it out. I'm like, where's that? Oh, okay. So we're on 235.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you guys were talking. We were rude.
Having so much fun.
You can hardly tell.
Page 235, computers and networking for $20,000. I see we're moving some money around at the next council meeting for computers and networking for $150,000. So I'm just not sure, with the computer, we've done a lot of upgrades with various things. We're moving stuff at the next meeting. I don't know why we need this computers and networking money under IT. Is it different from the one we're moving?
Yeah, the money that we're moving isn't gonna be available to next year, correct, Lisa?
Yeah, the money we're moving now is a transfer from our 2021 reserves, and as I explained earlier, it's a 2-year budget cycle. So that money will be transferred into a future capital ordinance, again, to purchase whatever we need without having to issue new debt.
We did that a couple of years ago, and it was a good thing we did it, because when they did away with Windows 10 and we had to buy all new computers for Windows 11, we had to hit that account. So that account won't be available to us till next year. That you're talking about, you're gonna vote on Tuesday night.
Okay. And this will be available right away?
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Once the capital budget's approved.
Oh, you will go on that?
I got a quick question about that same computers and networking though. So the capital's paid over a lengthy amount of time, correct? Right?
Yes.
So we're purchasing computers which generally are obsolete the moment they walk out the door, and we're paying for them for 20 years.
What you're saying is true, but with the local bond law, we are allowed to put the computers into capital.
Just because we're allowed, does it make
Well,
sense?
It's something where we have the ability to do, and that's, we've been operating for the past, I don't know how many years.
And it's just not computers, it's anything that comes up, the services, like I've helped out the police department in the last couple of years with their antennas and the radios, if they have a shortfall, I can go in here, like this year, we needed to buy two antennas for the radios and I bought that for you guys. And so it comes out of there, it's like technology, and we don't always know what we need, so that's what that's there for. Like, we had a glitch in the system, we had to buy a new switch for it. One of those switches costs $1,000 if we need to replace it. That was the issue so far that we figured out at the last council meeting. And they're not in the everyday budget, we just don't know when we need it.
So, just for giggles, how much does that 20,000 cost us over the life of that bond?
It's answer that because it's part of an entire ordinance, which is probably $2 million, $2.5 million. I can't narrow it down to specifically what's the 20,000.
I'm just want to make sure we're not paying double over 20, that's all. Go ahead, Mr. Councilman Sackett.
What's, Chief, the Zetron Max dispatch system, 153, 175?
Upgrade the three dispatcher consoles. The equipment there now is 1990s technology and is getting into the service line. Basically, the problems with it, when we call the service company, sometimes they don't have the parts because it's so outdated. What we're looking is to update the three dispatch consoles to bring it into the 2021s as opposed to the 1990s. And once we do that, that'll also be a benefit to the fire department, their communications, also to the DPW, but they're ready.
We can't do the, Lisa, the 153, we can't have like 53, 50, and 50, it's all gonna be at once?
Yeah, just because, you have to do it at once, because everything has to be interconnected with, the 911, the computers we have down there. It's like a one-shot deal for the installation.
If you're asking if it can break up into years,
Yeah.
yes, but they wouldn't be able to purchase it until they got up to that amount.
Gotcha.
That's how it gets for growth.
Right.
Yep.
The, just the purchases with the Public Works, the 4 vehicles, the plow and the Mason dump truck, the other dump truck backhoe, vehicle review committee, you guys are good with all those?
Yes.
You guys are good, Doug?
I'm good with it, I just,
Okay.
still not sure the capital versus.
Yeah. All right, that's all I had on 235.
This catches 363,000. This catches them up finally.
Those are my 235 questions.
I have a piggyback on that. Is the recycling compactor truck, silly question. The one that drives by my house says Denville on it. So, are you sure we don't need a recycling truck?
Yeah, so I'm looking for that for next year.
Okay,
With the budget, yes. We're having a lot of fleet issues.
right.
That's why I'm president of the Public Works Association for New Jersey, for Region 2, and I'm very grateful for my counterpart in Denville for bailing me out.
Right.
So we work together very well.
But you don't think that's something you would need sooner than later?
As of right now, my technicians say we're okay,
Okay,
but definitely next year.
okay. Then my next question is, and this is just a clarification, because I'm not really 100% sure, but we have an aerial truck, and it looks like we're replacing an aerial truck every year for the next 5 years?
No.
Money into.
Or
Price is 1.6 million.
for the truck, the one truck? So we're looking to, okay, so we're looking to pay the 300,000 every year for the next 5 years with hopes to receive a truck in 27?
And it stays at $1.6 million, which is unbelievable.
Okay. Thank you.
When we're down in Australia, get a police car so we can get
And that's it, maybe
Yeah,
New
but
Zealand makes the fire truck.
But it's on the left-hand side.
How many miles are on the current one?
It's laughable, maybe under 10,000. It's not road mileage that wears these vehicles. It's engine hours where they run fire scenes and at trainings. That put the tax on the motors.
Do they have, does it have a working hour?
They have
On-
engine hour meters
They do. Can you get me that number?
for the truck. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
And it's safe to say for the other vehicles, that's the same thing. We're taking the price of all those trucks over a period of time.
Yep. Soften the blows to the department.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Do we, to piggyback, once Pondview goes into effect, do we need to house vehicles there? And do we need to purchase for that department?
Right now, the plan is to take the vehicle that White Meadow Lake is there's people that live in close proximity to Pondview, and they are interested in incorporating as a sixth fire company in Rockaway Township, then of course we have to have a conversation about putting some fleet vehicles there. But right now, with Picatinny, close proximity to that property, Mount Hope and Birchwood being their response area, and Jefferson on Route 15, we are confident in covering that property.
Okay. And with that vehicle that Councilwoman Brooks was discussing, Picatinny has the same fire truck, in theory, correct?
There is duplication of assets amongst the area fire departments. Picatinny is unique. As a federal agency, the commander of the garrison would say no vehicles are leaving his base. So it becomes difficult for us to rely upon their assets to protect our community.
So they're not required to do mutual aid? Is that,
Nobody's required to do it.
okay.
So you try to work with relationships, provide value to them as they provide value to us.
Okay. One other quick one that I want to piggyback on Councilwoman Brooks was with the recycling truck. How is Pondview being done for recycling, just out of curiosity? So that's privately. Oh, so we won't have to go in there.
He knew right away.
I just wanted to ask, I mean, they're in my ward, I just wanted to, okay. I just wanted to make sure that was, thank you.
He looks slightly terrified.
I just wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Question. The road garage, under the Public Works, the second one, engineering, design, and construction. I assume that's the one in White Meadow Lake by the salt dome?
No. Top for the Green Pond Road.
Which one is that?
Green Pond.
Green Pond Road.
Oh, that's the Green Pond?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, what's going on, anything that I thought that would be,
We just had an engineering study done on the building itself, whether to either raise the building or to build a new one or to rehab the building itself. Current talks are to actually rehab the building. The other issue that we're having up there is also the,
are you talking about White Meadow Lake?
No.
Talking about the
Oh,
road.
the one, okay.
The garage.
The other issue that we're having also is the fuel, the underground fuel tanks need to be replaced also.
Yeah.
So, it is actually cheaper in the long run to rehab the building. So we would get another 30 years, almost 40 years out of the existing building.
Okay.
That's the one in five. So that isn't the one in White Meadow.
No, that's
No.
right, because, that's been an ongoing discussion, around the neighborhood and whatever, what's going, can I ask what's going on with that one?
You can ask whatever you want.
Yeah.
Which,
Thank you.
the White Meadow Lake, the
Yeah,
building
by
that
the,
we
with the salt dome, because that,
So currently, we're just waiting for some more, engineering estimates done on that, and the bid spec is done. We're very shortly ready to go out to bid for the building itself. So the footprint would be where the existing old building is,
yeah.
to raise that building, and then place the new building on top of that.
Is that brick and mortar, or is it?
The bid spec would either be brick and mortar or an alternate for Walmart.
Okay. And then, everything around it. Okay, so we're at that stage. Because when I saw that, I thought that was new one.
We have all the money set aside for that already?
Okay,
Yep.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's why it's not on here. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
I'm good, thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Two of them are with the, senior building improvements.
Oh, I thought we were on 235.
I'm sorry.
The whole tab?
I thought it was the whole tab.
Okay, I thought we were doing page 235. No, you go. I thought we were on 235.
You were on 230.
236 first. Okay, well, I have the same question as you.
First, and I'll follow up. How's that?
Yeah, the senior center, buildings and grounds, senior center basement improvements, and the security, just wondering what are we doing there, and also, yeah, with that, what are what are the improvement, I know we've done a lot of improvements already, so just wanna see, and then security, like, are we gonna have a security guard there, or cameras, or what are we doing?
So the improvements for the basement are mirroring the improvements that we've done upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yeah, so we're looking to bring the basement up to the same standard, basically, so we can use it the same way.
Is that gonna be handicap accessible?
Yeah, we are going to make it ADA, yeah. That project is something that we've already applied for and been granted through this Community Development Block Grant Program.
Sure.
And the ADA compliance is one of the big parts of that grant program. Yeah.
And then the security, what are,
The security is basically, we want to bring the senior center up to the same standard of security that we have at the municipal building. Right now, it's its own key set. It's a physical key. People have access because they have a key.
sure.
We want it to be the same as what we have here, badges for employees that are tracked when people go in and out. When a community group wants to use it, we'll have a set of cameras, swipe badges for in and out, all of that.
Is that on grant money, or is that actual?
No, that one is not grant money. The grant improvements are specifically aimed at blight, ADA improvements, not security typically, so.
Don't we have Douglas Brooks Senior for security across the street?
Yeah, I get calls every freaking day. Who's over in that building? Cut that tree down.
Could Joyce help out? Maybe we can cut this from 20 to 5?
My 92-year-old grandmother sits on the porch now and rocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, go
She
get her in
knows
there.
who goes in and out.
Give her a shotgun.
So I have a question about the furniture for the senior center. So I'm under the impression that the senior center is also our heating and cooling center for the township, correct? Like if it's too hot?
One of them, yeah.
Okay, so is that furniture going to be something to accommodate if someone needs or uses that for that purpose, that they're not just sitting on the floor?
As the chief is in charge of OEM, I think I just saw him shake his head, so.
We have the municipal building, the lobby and the police headquarters, because that's open 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
So on camera, during normal business hours, we also have the library. We have not designated the senior center, warming or cooling station as of yet, because correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing there for you to use, You'd have to-
Okay.
Yeah, you have to bring your own chair.
So it's not a formal,
No, not as of yet. Once everything's over and done with.
okay, so hopefully this furniture could allot for that.
The aim of the furniture is to make the space more flexible. Right now, all of the furniture that's there is essentially out when it's out and requires a lot of manpower to take it down if we want to do something that requires open space. So the idea would be to move to folding chairs instead of stackable chairs, folding tables, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
The vehicle review committee, just the 4 vehicles on this page, the utility van, buildings and grounds, and the plow and liftgate, electric mower, tractor, loader. Guys are all good with that?
Yes.
I actually just have a question about the utility van. That was mine on this page.
Okay.
If memory serves me correctly in our meeting, Jack, one of the vehicles, and maybe this is that vehicle and I'm mistaken, we needed to purchase a new vehicle for animal control. Is that this utility van that they're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Otherwise, I was going to say take his and put it to there, but that's this one.
No, that's
Okay.
that one.
So
Because
again, not in the
state
budget,
changed
in
its
the-
regulation, yes.
Yeah, that's with the cages and everything else.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
The park equipment improvements for 15,000 and the Peterson Field improvements for 60. That's just like a general amount or set aside for certain improvements?
I'm sorry, what was it? 60,000
for Peterson. What is that?
Oh, Peterson. These two. Was the 60,000 was for the cameras, wasn't it, Dave? Oh, For the cameras to put down there?
Correct.
Yes. It's, they wanted, eyes on
security on
the,
the cameras.
down there, so it's security for cameras. We're putting the same new camera system we put in this building, we're adding some to the fields.
And then the
Correct,
field, the equipment improvements, park and equipment improvements, 15,000, just varies.
And then the 15,000 was batting cages.
Oh, new batting cages.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And we're moving the location of them, so we need a new one.
Has there been any discussion on replacing the refrigerators, freezers, everything that was in the garage and taken out this past year?
The decision to take those out was basically we put forward a couple of solutions, and the direction was that programs would rather handle it themselves as opposed to have the township take a big, expensive, altogether approach.
Because they
Well, they were all broken.
They were all broken, yeah.
Right.
So in order to fix them, the township was gonna have to spend a bunch of money. Instead of fixing them, they were just removed, and
What? Right, no, I know. So here's an impossible question. What would it cost to put in a refrigeration and a freezer unit back into that garage?
so the electric that is there is three-phase, so that was one of the cost hurdles to get over, was getting the three-phase power changed to single-phase, 110, and then new outlets put in place so we could put chest freezers in, and then just purchase of the chest freezers. When we started exploring having the township purchase chest freezers, it was decided that it would be better that softball purchase their own chest freezer, football purchase their own chest freezer, such that sizing could just be what they needed.
So-
I don't think that anything has been done with it now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
But that's my question is what was that cost roughly?
$15,000, something in the neighborhood of that.
So my question is by my math, we've returned $41,000 back to the budget. So is there an opportunity to take some of that money and purchase refrigerator and freezer units for that
Facility.
for the use of being also that with the rehabs going on at Peterson and the remodels, there's going to be greater use. Is there an opportunity to put some money in there and have the town purchase it?
Yeah, certainly that could be done, yeah.
But we'd have to fix the electric, right?
Yeah, that was, one of the things was the electrical. It was specifically the plugs, that was all.
No, I understand that, but it's cheaper to run a three-phase freezer than it is to run a single phase.
I think for the electric, yeah.
No, like operating costs.
Yeah, exactly, for the electric, yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to take 30,000 of the 41,000 that we've already put back, take $30,000, put it into capital for the purchase of a refrigerator unit and a freezer unit for Peterson Field for the use of recreation.
I'll second that.
We had 25, minus 25 for salary, plus 25 for the part-time zoning, plus 95 for the police car, minus 136 for the community service directors, plus 41. I want to take 30 of that and put it back into Peterson.
Howard just lost me there.
Can you take it? Yep.
Councilman Quinn,
Yes.
Councilman Freelander,
Yes.
Councilman Brooks,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon,
Yes.
Councilman Salberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brooks,
This is for the use of all recreation
Yes.
programming?
Yes.
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
I agree with you there, Councilwoman Brooks. All programs.
No more padlock.
Yeah, yes.
President Kritz,
Yes, and Mr. Coward, we'll just to discuss it, we'll come up with the rules, but it'll be similar like concession stand. At the end of the season, all your stuff comes out.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Sorry, Mayor.
Yeah,
you're gonna say something?
there's gonna have to be a process governing the usage of those, if they're gonna.
It'll be similar to the concession, so they'll clean out, they'll have to pay, for the concession, they pay to clean out the grease filters and all that.
Can I have one question?
Yeah.
So this is going in the actual budget, not in the capital, because the money that you're talking about saving from the position, we
I
can
will-
add this to the budget.
I defer to,
Yeah, so we'll add it to the recreation
it will
budget,
get added to the recreational budget,
not the capital.
right?
Thank you for that.
Mayor, I'll come up with the rules if you want.
I like it. Are you gonna police them too? You gonna do that too?
Maybe I'll hang out there all day.
Absolutely.
Which one I was trying to skip?
Send Joyce over there.
That's what they need.
Send Joyce.
From Peterson.
She'll do it.
Okay. Anything else on tab 23?
I do. So we're starting the project at Peterson this year. In doing so, we eliminated baseball fields for the lower, younger kids. And we have zero funds in this capital for doing any of the projects that are required in order for them to get their fields back. The question that we've been discussing over some time now is, does it make sense to piecemeal projects together, or to ultimately decide to put a number and go forth for the overall completion of Peterson Field and the complex? So we discussed back in October some numbers, and administration has gotten us those numbers. And some of it has to deal with, as you saw in your budgets, that each household is going to be saving about $73 this year, which equates to approximately $650,000, right, for an overall cost savings per household. The question that I'm putting out there is, yes, we are saving money, but we're not putting it towards anything for the taxpayer in terms of recreation and senior services or anything along those lines. So I would like to entertain the thought of looking at what it would be per household to complete the Peterson project in full, instead of just sitting here doing it piecemeal, and 10 years from now it finally gets done, as opposed to putting a number to it, seeing what it would cost, and go from there. Just to kind of let you know, if we took, not that I'm saying this is the number, but just if we took a $20 million note to do work somewhere and paid it over 15 years, it'd only be an additional $66 a year on somebody's taxes. I just want that to kind of sink in to everybody about what that would cost and the services that you're providing and the things that we can be doing for the community.
$66 a year for the 20 years, or was just for 1 year?
No, for the 15 years.
Oh, for 15.
So I just want that to kind of sink into everybody's head a little bit, that sometimes we sit there and nickel and dime about minimal things, but if we're not moving our town forward to keep up with everybody else, and we just sit there and wait, we're never going to keep ourselves at the top of Morris County. And I think that's something that we all need to think about and discuss. But I wanted to put it out there as that's what the number is.
Could we do something with that, 650,000?
Well, based on,
20 million.
Yeah.
right, well, based on what administration was saying, was that next year they're anticipating an additional $1.2 million to our roll. Where this year we only got about 650, next year is going to be additional 1.2 to our roll. So those are, real numbers that we need to think about to say, well, no, it really isn't 66 then. If we get that additional 1.2, and if you're taking what you're going to be paying on the note, you're talking a very minimal, it starts to drive that number even down further, for the life of the loan.
Because right now we have nothing, like you said, after this current phase, there's no money, right? We're using all the money to pay for P1 and 2 that we've saved over the last, so after this, there's nothing.
Right.
Correct.
And that was no additional cost in theory to the taxpayer. We didn't go out for a referendum, we didn't go for anything. We had that money and we were able to do it. But it took, Jack, how long did it take to get that field?
40 years.
How long have you been trying to get additional things at Peterson?
Almost 40 years,
So
so.
we're still in a spot that we need to do something for our community, create this community bonding and this whole sense of town center. And I think that we really need to push forward and to look into this. And I wanted to bring it up at the council meeting now to consider looking at this.
To your point, Doug, I think it's also important to acknowledge the fact that we have a senior building we're talking about that's not necessarily ADA compliant, right? And to go back and retrofit that building, the cost of that may be really not even worth the value of the building, if I'm being honest. And then you have the I call it the recycling road over here, but you have all of these sheds, and you have all of these things, and everyone's kind of got their own little pocket of town, where if you think of Peterson, and I know everyone's thinking recreational sport, right? I think we have to really keep in mind that Peterson Field is really a community center of town. And that's also an aspect where people like our community service director, if we decide to put one back in, could be housed to oversee, and that could be the hub and the bubble of Rockaway Township. You can then even give Dave a particular office, and he can be storing and housing equipment, and that's kind of where their hub can be. And then you can take your I call it the bus garage, sorry, your garage up on Green Pond Road and repurpose that and reutilize it to make things more effective. I think the biggest issue I see in Rockaway Township right now is everything is piecemeal, and there's no efficacy to anything we do. 43 plus square miles of town, and we have guys running lawnmowers up and down Green Pond Road to, mow for 90 minutes, but then 3 hours of travel time, and all of that. So I think it's super important to really start thinking about the bigger picture of Rockaway Township. And yes, the numbers Councilman Brooks had mentioned are quite scary, but when you really think about the type of services we're providing to our community as a whole, I don't think we have things like mommy and me groups. You have the library here and there, and it's very limited space. We have sports that are operating as separate businesses on an island. Our seniors are sharing a building that some of them cannot even access, if we're being honest. You have aspects where seniors are coming into this courtroom during, in between, municipal violations, if you will, to do yoga. Those types of things are not something that I think Rockaway Township is a place where you'd say, oh my God, that's awesome, I want to go there. And I think we really need to look at Peterson and maybe not even call it Peterson Field any longer, but look at that complex and that piece of property as a whole to really signify what Rockaway Township's all about and how we again can allot our dollars in the long run to save us money.
Thank you, Council. And that was the one reason is every year we just put a little money away. Councilman Sackett might even bring some, let's put this money away. Well, it never gets anywhere, right? Sometimes you got to do what is in the best interest of everybody, and it ends up being more cost effective in the long run. You might think in the beginning, but it's not, right? It's more cost effective to just put it all together, get it done, and move on, and everybody knows what the cost is.
And a second note, the opioid problem is an issue. It's a real thing. You give a place for kids to go on Friday nights to have open basketball, things of that nature. They're less likely to end up in the woods where you have Chief McFarland who then needs an SUV or an ATV to get to them.
Okay, I agree. I think it's something we should look at. Yep. All right, anything else on tab 23?
I just have a minor thing. The guardrail replacements, do we have a list of guardrails or an idea? I just know there's quite a few specifically when I go into White Meadow.
One in particular is, on the reservoir, right around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oak Road to, Wilson Park, right there.
Okay.
The guardrail is, that's where most of that money will be going.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's nasty over there.
Page 237, underwater, the storage tank painting and repairs, $100,000, washout ROV storage tanks. What tanks are we painting? What's that project?
So that one, there's two that are on top priority right now. Number one is the removal of paint on Green Pond tank. second in our low Erie tank. Low Erie is the big rehab. It's a 1 million gallon tank that hasn't been touched. Overhaul. We just recently, Ryan just, actually recently, expanded to all of our tanks, all 7. So we have a complete inventory now of what each tank needs. And we're formulating a plan right now on attacking that.
Is that project being bid out, or you guys are doing that in-house?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's a big project. Okay.
We don't paint water tanks, and we don't have scuba gear to go inside of them, so that's all,
When's the last time they were done?
the last tank that actually got painted was the Cleveland tank, that was around 2014.
All right.
Okay. But the,
Low Erie,
so these 2 tanks that we're looking at, they're what, like 30, 40 years old, or more than that?
Low Erie is about 40 years old.
40.
Green Pond tank was put in the 90s.
Hey, John, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think it'd be good, I think Wednesday I was given the report that shows the tanks and all this. And I think it'd be great if we can get copies to the council of that report so you can all see it. It's very comprehensive. It has pictures and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I think, and then once you get that report, we could probably have further discussion around a plan to remediate the issues.
It works. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Thank you.
Anything else on tab 23? All right, do I have a motion to, go ahead.
No, that's what I would, anyway. So I guess the question out there is, if we decided that we wanted to do something, do we have to make that decision today, or can we do that at any process part during the year?
You don't have to make it today.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 650.
Well, we're gonna propose, the capital budget as it is now will be in what's put before the state. But you can add, sure, but I was actually having a discussion today with our auditor. Moving forward, we have debt that is gonna be coming off in 2025. I know that's a few years away, but, to have that discussion now is good planning going forward. But it's probably wise to try and fold it in to that debt coming off so that we're not hit so drastically today.
Something to consider.
Something to consider.
Okay. But what are we gonna do for those fields that we promised these people we're gonna start next year?
We need to make a move.
We can amend the capital budget anytime. Yes, so Pat was pointing out, we can amend the capital budget anytime.
Okay.
We're gonna present it the way it is proposed now.
I just want to make sure that,
And
like,
amend
if we
it.
all sit down and say, yeah, we want to start to do something, you guys are
Yes.
giving us better numbers, all of a sudden, somebody else does their job and they get us a better, like, fixed cost of what this thing is gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
we can come back to you and say, yeah, we want to go forth and do it, we can amend it, we can
Yes,
start.
yes.
We don't have to do it today.
But what about for phase 3?
Right.
I know you have to hire engineering firm, all that type of good stuff. How much are we looking at with that? Because I know we had to do that for phase 2.
Yeah, and trees
We don't have any money for that, so it'd be nice to have the money for
Yeah,
that.
so just to confirm, phase 3 being the baseball diamonds in the back?
And the bill.
No,
Not.
no, that's
Building
four.
Is it okay if I just share it? So,
So he's gonna tell you.
I think he's asking for an amount.
We can do that offline, but that would would not be good to share that in public, that amount,
Just not-
because of bidding. So
I-
For the engineering.
we can privately share that.
Just for the engineering?
Yeah, like, because we
A
have to,
cost for the-
we have to hire an engineer firm to do the
Yeah,
plans.
okay,
Well, we're gonna, wait, that would be.
That's a bidded
request for-
thing, that's a bidded item too. So we can come up with an estimate that we can share
Then
with
just-
you,
Just give a guesstimate.
but we can't share that
20
with
to-
anybody.
Well, no, but there's nothing that we have to do today to ensure that phase 3 moves forward with engineering and with everything that we need to do.
Yeah. Where's money coming from?
We can set the money
Hang
aside.
on.
We will amend the capital.
They're gonna amend the cap.
Right, okay.
Or do we just take some of that money that we are now in a short, we instead of the
Plus 11
$73 or whatever,
Yeah.
it's $650.
Yeah, but we can amend it. It's not, if we fail to do it right now, we're not shut out for a year. We can amend it at any time.
That's correct.
That's fine. As long as we can do that, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'd rather come up
Let's get some numbers.
and get some numbers and amend it at a later time. I think it's not prudent to throw money at it right now when we don't know what we're looking at.
Allison, you're okay with that, though? Because you,
What was the?
I would rather
what
put
was the
something
rate?
aside so this
We,
way we're
we
not.
just want to make sure that if we don't make a financial decision today, that we can amend the budget and add money to it that you would need.
Yeah, but we're,
Do the capital, just do the engineering and all
that's
that.
what I wanted to.
So let's do one job.
If Lisa says that we can amend the budget in the future.
We can amend the capital budget. It's a spending plan. We're calling it a budget, but it's a spending plan that is part of the overall budget that we submit to the state.
We just don't
We can
want,
amend the capital plan anytime.
we don't want to lose momentum.
Right. Nope, understood.
Yeah, but,
Okay.
but the engineering money is not in the budget.
But it can be amended because we can't discuss the totals now because it's a
Yes.
bidded project. So what they're gonna do, if I understand correctly, is put that together.
Yeah.
We can amend it to the budget and keep it moving forward.
But not in capital. It keeps
The capital, well,
It could be in the capital budget.
it can be.
What, the engineering?
Yep.
Why
Yes.
would you put just the engineering costs in the
We
capital?
do because it's part of the project.
Bottom line is, we're not losing anything by,
No,
right,
just you're financing engineering.
yeah, we just don't wanna lose the momentum. And I think that we're satisfied that we're not.
We've commonly done that.
Okay,
That's like.
Doug, you good?
Right.
Councilman Freelander, the reason we do that and put all the cost in, because then it really shows the cost of the whole project,
The whole project.
instead of having to look for it everywhere.
But with engineering study, you're not necessarily going forward with the.
But it's part of that project.
Project.
That's what I'm saying.
On your larger projects, that's where we typically have it. On the smaller projects, we'll have it in the O and E.
Yeah.
But on our larger projects, when it's getting sizable, we'll give you that range. And just to confirm that the scope for phase 3 are the baseball diamonds?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, not the building.
right.
Okay.
That's 4.
All
Yeah,
right, go
four.
ahead, speak up.
Give him,
I'll be here another 8 years, though.
Okay,
don't let him go
I
up.
would request that we put $60,000 in for engineering.
As long
do
as
we have a second?
confirm that.
I'll second that.
In the capital.
In capital. And then we won't have to amend later.
Yeah, that's where it's gotta go.
All right, well, there's a motion on the floor.
Confirming it. Okay, so 60 is reasonable?
He made the motion in a second.
Yeah, no, she's just writing something down.
Councilman Quinn,
Yes.
Councilman Freelander,
Oh, yes.
Denied phase 3 fields.
Councilman Brooks,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon,
Yes.
Councilman Salberg,
No.
Councilwoman Brooks,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Kritz,
No.
Gotcha.
6 yeses, 2 nos. Carries.
Okay. That works.
Anything else on 23? Going once. Make a motion to close tab 23 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody opposed?
I don't know, couldn't hear it.
Make a motion to approve tab 23 as amended.
Second.
Second that. Anybody opposed? Okay. That is it for tabs. I would like to take another moment and thank everybody. I know even though we did move through this, it took a lot of work to get to this point. So thank you for that. I want to thank everybody for coming out on a Saturday. I think now we have precedence to show that we can do this in one short meeting. And I want to credit the council. I think that the reason we were able to do this is because everybody took it as seriously as it needed to be and submitted the majority of the questions in advance and had adequate answers and came prepared. I was glad to see that most of what we talked about was just discussion, for clarification, and I think it's a big credit to this council. And I think that, I'm proud of what you guys have done here today. Is there anything else from administration?
No, I think we're good. I think it was good to hear also a lot of productive conversation and not, argumentative, right, up at the council. And I think, everybody had their own viewpoint and you guys addressed it all and it was nice to hear.
All right, so-
Anybody else?
Oh, hold on
So
one
we
second.
will be introducing this at the March 22nd meeting. The
Okay.
budget as is, right? Amended. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
Yep, Jeff?
Billy broken in.
Manny could run that for like another 20 years. Come on.
Okay. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you very much.
Well, don't leave, we have pizza.
We're still having lunch, Howard, you.
Don't
I'm sorry,
forget, we have lunch.
we have lunch coming, unbelievably. At halfway, it'll be here in about 15 minutes. We told them 12:45. Everybody is welcome to stay.
This is awesome.
Yeah, it really was.